find yourself missing an enormous amount of what their characters are, their personalities, the kinds of things they think, the kinds of things they want to do. And I think that's not only a shame, I think it's sacrilegious too.
Well, you have been criticized at certain points in time for not creating characters that are clear role models for the African American community. And can you address that? I mean, obviously it relates to what you just said.
Yeah, I don't know what a role model is. I think that's an easy way to lay it off on someone else, lay a personal responsibility off on someone else. Why should, for example, Magic Johnson be a role model that the father of that boy is not? That's nonsense. Why should, I don't think Beyonce or whatever. Beyonce be a role model for a girl whose mother is not doing the job. It seems to me that that's always laying off on someone else a role that you have to play as parent in a child's life.
But as an artist, do you feel you have a special responsibility since you're not, I mean, you're not an icon, you're not a figure, a public figure. You create situations in your writing that then relate to life. What kinds of messages do you think you want? Do you want people to take from your writing?
I want to tell people that everyone I write about is a human being and ought to be cared about, and just because they're human beings. It's too easy to reduce human beings to stereotypes. It means you don't have to pay attention to them. If you watch a situation comedy, you have the fool, the person who makes you laugh when they come in, the mama, the father, whatever roles they play. And as a consequence, you don't have to think very much about that. Well, I think everyone has a right to say, I don't want to think tonight, or I don't want to think tomorrow. But we are here, it seems to me, to think.
So do you have a low opinion of black sitcoms
Some
as
of
they
them,
exist
yes,
now?
absolutely, sure.
Because that is a large part of the media landscape today. I was going to ask you also about African American stand-up comics, which are, I mean, I think have a great deal of clout now in the media.
I watch some of them, but a lot of them I don't watch. I don't know that foul language is fun. I've never found that.
And you feel that's sort of integrated into comedy, stand-up comedy?
Yeah,
nowadays.
yeah, it has.
Yeah, I think black or white or whatever, it seems
I mean,
to be very central.
I just think that there are better terms to use. And you tell me how talented you are by how well you use language, not how many curse words you could use in the process of your stand-up, your bit, whatever that is. It's much easier to do it that way. But I never knew that foul language was fun. I mean, I never. It has a reason for being used, and as often as possible, I try not to use it. Really.
You have written for television and for Showtime, and now you're writing a novel.
Yes.
So you've actually moved through many. You started with short stories, from what I hear. You wrote a play. You've written screenplays.
Right.
You've written for television, and now novel writing. That's quite a range.
Yes.
Can you briefly describe some of the differences in genre and how you have to orient yourself in writing in these different genres?
Yes, a play. I've always described playwriting as riding on a motorcycle by yourself. And you control what speed it goes, you control where it goes, and you decide ultimately where it winds up, okay? Because a playwright is sort of a prince inside the theater, and his decisions are ones that are the most important inside a theater. A movie is something you do in a cab with other people. You're all going in the same direction. There's a driver, but you have two people sitting beside you. and we're all going to the same place, but we're all making decisions about what's going to happen once we get there. It's the only place that that for me is the kind of work that allows you to work with a lot of people and get something done at the same time.
Do you like that? Do you like collaborative work, or do you prefer the more solid
I don't really mind any of it, really. I enjoy what I do, really. I don't write things with people. I write, and then we all talk about how we're going to put it together as a movie.
Okay.
But I don't collaborate with anyone, you know, in terms of
in the
writing.
actual writing process. Now, you've had some metaphors for the playwright and for the screenwriter. Now, what about the novel writer? As a novel writer myself, I'm curious about that.
I'm finding that the hardest thing to do is to write a novel. I find that the most difficult.
Why is that?
For me, it's because I've spent a lot of time writing plays and motion pictures. And so you're writing in pictures and you're using, the play is about language, really.
Yeah.
A book is about more than that. You cannot put thoughts on the screen. You can't do that. No one will watch that movie.
You can't get inside someone's head.
Yeah, you really can't.
Yeah.
On stage, you can have someone musing about different things, but if that's the point of the play, no one's going to watch it. So it's the thing that I'm finding difficult to do is to get inside of the characters that I'm creating, inside their thoughts, and to write all that down.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about what this novel is about? Or I know novelists have very different ideas about that.
I can only tell you that it begins in 1915. And 1915, and it runs to 1929.
Okay, so it's historical again, which seems to be an interest of yours. You like to go back in time.
Yeah, I enjoy history because the one thing that we can do that no one else can do now is know more about the history than the people who lived it. And I think that's just fantastic. You know, I can know what someone was doing in Europe. My relatives didn't know that in Savannah, you know, but I can know all of that.
You can research it.
Yeah. I can look at the whole world.
Do you feel as a writer that we talked about role models, but in a slightly different context, that you can have an effect on the state of society, that you have a responsibility to have an effect, or that you can have an effect?
I would like to have an effect. I don't know if you really do have one. Time tells that, and you're generally dead by the time and you'll never know about it anyway. But I think I'd like to have an effect on how people see the world.
Yeah.
But I don't think I will ever know about it. Very ephemeral effects don't interest me a great deal. I'd like to have more of a long-lasting effect, and it's something that I will never know about.
You will never know. You made a very provocative statement that I read in an interview that you had with someone else, that you felt that September 11th brought people together for a short period of time, but that you've been disappointed by what's happened since that time, not just with race relationships, but perhaps even on a broader scale. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Calamities in the United States always and invariably bring us together. They just do. But we have a tendency to discard things very, very quickly. And so the horror and memory of 9/11 got discarded very, 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 very fast. Very much the way that Pearl Harbor got discarded, really. We don't like dwelling on unhappy things in America.
That's part of our strength, isn't it?
I don't think so. I think to understand people, you must understand the good and the bad and the sad and the happy and the joyful and the horrendous, really. We tend to sort of color things in a way that reflects a sort of Disneyland approach to life and everything. So when the plane struck in New York, it was horrible. and everything collapsed, and it was terrible. We lost all those people. But very quickly, we don't want to continue to remember that. And so as often as we can, we walk away from the memory. In 10 years from now, I'm sure they'll still remember 9/11. But you must remember also that generations begin to grow who were infants at the time, who by 2030 will have very little connection to 9/11. Okay? And will wonder why people are so worried or troubled or excited by it, as we do with Pearl Harbor. We don't think about that anymore, except the guys that fought there.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
But
We have
America
short memories.
tends to discard its tragedies. They really do. We do.
I think you make a very good point.
Yeah,
I'm going to end here with one question, though. Actually, a number of the questions I asked you were from students in my class who emailed me questions, but the last one is a bit lighthearted and trivial, but I will ask it anyway. How do you like your Philadelphia cheesesteak?
Oh, we cooked onions and salt and pepper.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Charles Fuller,
Thank you
for being on
for
Drexel
having me.
Interview.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.